For this episode, we're looking at a case that has only recently been wrapped up, with the perpetrator shown legally to be a cockwomble. They didn't actually say that, but everyone knew what the authorities meant. In yet another case of a woman doing something that she enjoyed only to meet a grisly fate at the hands of a nasty bastard. We'll be heading to Athens, not the real one, but a different one in Georgia in the US of A. The alarm was raised very quickly when her disappearance was noted, but it was already far too late for the pretty young nursing student. This is the terrible case of Laken Riley, and this is Murderer's Foe. Laken Hope Riley was born on January the 10th, 2002 in Marietta, Georgia, to Jason Riley and Alison Phillips, and she had 3 siblings. In 2020, she graduated from River Ridge High School in Woodstock, Georgia, where she was a member of the cross-country team. And it was through that she became an avid jogger. She was very big on physical fitness, and her chosen niche was in running. I'm just going to step in here to say that I've never understood jogging. Running just to get back to where you came from with no real purpose. But then, as should be obvious to even the most casual viewer, I'm built for comfort and not for speed, but obviously I'm now digressing. Riley, who was 22 years old at the start of this year, was a nursing student at Augusta University in Athens, Georgia, and had previously attended the University of Georgia as an undergraduate. So she was perhaps something of a home bird, as even after leaving home to pursue her studies, she remained in Georgia. And she was an active member of the Alpha Chi Omega sorority. Does that mean something to somebody? I'm sure it does. Around 8 a.m. on February the 22nd, Riley was hanging out at home with her iPad. She took notes, she did her homework, she watched Netflix. She was basically just being a student and doing studenty things. She and her roommate and occasional running partner, Connolly Huth, chatted about their weekend plans. And at about 8:45 a.m, Huth left for class. And she would never see Laken Riley again. Laken set off on her run not long after. In fact, she left home at 9:03 a.m. on February the 22nd with her iPhone for a February morning jog, and she brought her smartwatch and noise-cancelling AirPods with her for the run, and her house's Ring camera footage captured Riley with her hair in a ponytail, dressed in a black jacket, black leggings, and white sneakers as she left home. And then around 9:05 a.m, a trail camera spotted her jogging towards what would soon become a crime scene. Just 25 minutes later, she was dead. But of course, none of her friends or loved ones knew that. Laken's mother would normally speak with her daughter during her runs, and she called her daughter at around 9:06 a.m. But Laken did not pick up. Her mum then called Laken's 3 roommates, each of whom shared their phone's locations with one another. Incredibly good safety tip for any students out there, even if this time it didn't work out well. And this included Laken Riley's, of course. One of the roommates was already wondering why Laken had not returned home. Laken wasn't known for being late or in any way off schedule, and she'd been gone for hours. Concerned, the roommate checked her location using the phone's Find My feature, where, according to the app, Laken's initials LR had not moved within the app, and the phone's last known location was the nearby University of Georgia trail that she often ran on. Her roommates called authorities, but cell phone issues with the provider AT&T that day had hindered the roommates' efforts to locate Riley, and they couldn't reach her for minutes, which became hours. 2 of Riley's roommates, Lily Steiner and Sophia Magana, searched the trail for her at around 11:30 a.m. Riley's last known Find My location in the middle of Oconee Forest Park guided them, but there was no sign of Riley. Chillingly, the women instead came across a single AirPod, and it was Riley's. But with no cell service in the woods, they returned home to call the University of Georgia police, with them reporting her missing at around 12:05 p.m. A university police officer searched the wooded area near the trail, and in about 20 minutes he found Laken's partially nude remains. It appeared that Laken was fatally struck in the head with a rock several times, as well as being asphyxiated. It would be data retrieved from Laken's smartwatch that would actually show the heartbreaking sequence of events physiologically. The Garmin smartwatch that she wore captured this crucial data that was later analysed by the FBI. At around 9:10 a.m, the data appeared to show that something had stopped Riley's morning run. She initiated her phone's SOS function around that time. She called 911. Data from the smartwatch showed Riley's heart rate dropping over the next several minutes, suggesting that she had stopped running. But after a few more minutes, her smartwatch moved about 65 feet away from the trail into the woods. Riley's call to the Athens Clark County Police Department ended at 9:12 a.m. Her phone disconnected the call. Dispatchers attempted to call her back, but there was no answer. Her heart rate continued to show on the smartwatch data until just before 9:30 a.m. The data revealed a struggle that lasted several minutes. At 9:28 a.m., the smartwatch showed no further movement. Riley's heart had stopped. Her death was caused by blunt force trauma and asphyxiation, according to the Athens Clark County coroner. Police described Laken's murder as a crime of opportunity and reported that the killer appeared to have acted alone. Up until this point, there had not been a murder on the university's campus since 1983. After Laken's death, Jose Antonio Ibarra was questioned by police after a jacket with Laken's hair on it was found in a dumpster near his apartment. Ibarra's roommate identified him as the man throwing away the jacket from surveillance footage of the dumpster. Police questioning Ibarra noticed red knuckles and scratches on his arms. Ibarra was subsequently arrested on murder charges. Ibarra was no stranger to the police, regardless where the nomadic Venezuelan happened to find himself. 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra had entered the United States illegally in September 2022, crossing the United States southern border with Mexico near to El Paso, Texas. He was apprehended by federal authorities after crossing the border, and they subsequently released him into the country. Quite why I could not discover, but trouble would continue to follow him. Ibarra initially stayed at the Roosevelt Hotel migrant shelter in New York before taking a flight to Georgia, and police stated that he lived in an apartment complex about 1 mile or 1.6 kilometers from the wooded area where Laken's body was found. Ibarra had been previously arrested by both federal and state officials in multiple jurisdictions. In September of 2023, Ibarra was arrested in New York City and charged with acting in a manner to injure a child less than 17 and a motor vehicle license violation. In October of 2023, Jose and his brother, who was reported by authorities to be a member of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, They were arrested by Athens police on theft charges, and both were released after reportedly possessing stolen merchandise from a local Walmart. Ibarra had a bench warrant issued for his arrest in December 2023 after failing to appear in court in a shoplifting case in Georgia. On May the 8th, 2024, a grand jury in Clark County indicted Ibarra with 10 charges. 3 charges of felony murder, malice murder, false imprisonment, kidnapping, aggravated assault with intent to rape, hindering a 911 call, concealing the death of another, and peeping Tom. I never realized that peeping Tom was a crime in and of itself, but you learn something new every day. You're welcome. According to Georgia state law on peeping Tom, a person violates the statute when they enter or remain on another's premises with the intent to act as a peeping Tom. And in this case, Ibarra was charged for allegedly going to a University of Georgia apartment building on the same day as the murder, looking through a window and spying on a student. My. This guy seems like an absolutely diamond geezer and all-round lovely chap. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. Fuck me, how? Jesus Christ, he was nailed on guilty, but it was his right, I guess. Bail was denied. The district attorney was seeking the sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. In a court filing, the defense attorneys submitted a motion to move the trial to another county due to the media attention surrounding the case. But Judge Haggard denied this particular motion. Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial and opted instead for a bench trial, which began on November the 15th, 2024.
He will instead leave his fate in the hands of the judge. Fox 5's Kim Loeffler has been following this case from the beginning. Kim is live outside the courtroom with the latest on that. This is a major development here, Kim.
Yeah, it is, Christine, especially with a jury selection initially scheduled for this case tomorrow. Instead, Jose Antonio Ibarra decided to move forward with a bench trial rather than have a jury trial. And that means Judge Patrick Haggard will be the one to decide the outcome of this case. Using a translator, Jose Ibarra told Judge Haggard he knew he couldn't change his mind after waiving his right to a jury trial.
Both the state and the defense have agreed to proceed with a bench trial in this matter.
Ibarra, who authorities say entered the United States illegally, faces several charges, including malice murder and the death of Augusta University nursing student Laken Riley. Her body was found near Lake Herrick on UGA's campus back in February when she didn't return home from a morning run.
I will say I've had this, happen a few times, especially in criminal cases where something is potentially politically charged.
Attorney Jessica Sino, who is not involved in Ibarra's case, says defendants can choose bench trials when they're concerned about finding an impartial jury and for cases that can be emotionally charged.
somebody's life is on the line in terms of they could go to jail for the rest of it. You really wanted to be decided on the evidence and not on emotions.
She says bench trials can often move quicker than jury trials. Attorneys may also present the case differently than they would in front of a jury.
You're going to see less courtroom choreography. I mean, there's just a presentation, whether you're a prosecutor or defense attorney, that you sort of do for a jury to kind of have more of an effect.
The bench trial is scheduled to begin on Friday. Prosecutors are seeking a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Live this afternoon in Athens, Kim Loeffler, Fox 5 News.
Months of court hearings and political debate over him being in the U.S. illegally. Laken Riley murder suspect Jose Ibarra goes on trial today. He's accused of killing the Augusta nursing student back in February. Her body found on UGA's campus. Good news, Mark Teichner is live for us in Athens with a preview of all of this. Mark?
That's right, Elise, and it won't be a jury that ends up determining the fate of Jose Ibarra. That's because he decided to put his hands rather in the fate of the judge. Using a translator, earlier this week, Jose Ibarra tells Judge Patrick Haggard he's waiving his right to have a jury decide the highly publicized murder trial.
Both the state and the defense have agreed to proceed with a bench trial in this matter.
Ibarra, who authorities say entered the country illegally, is accused of killing Augusta State nursing student Laken Riley. Her body was found February near Lake Herrick on the UGA campus after she failed to come home from a morning run.
I've had this, happen a few times, especially in criminal cases where something is potentially politically charged.
Attorney Jessica Sino isn't involved in the Ibarra case. She says defendants sometimes choose a bench trial when they're worried about getting a fair jury, especially during emotionally charged cases.
You really wanted to be decided on the evidence and not on emotions.
Bench trials often move faster than jury ones and expect the lawyers to change up their strategy, including less courtroom choreography.
There's just a presentation, whether you're a prosecutor or defense attorney, that you sort of do for a jury to kind of have more of an effect.
Prosecutors are asking for a sentence of life in prison without parole. Of course, they're going to have to get a conviction before that happens. The trial is set to begin at 9 o'clock. Of course, Fox 5 will be in the courtroom, and we'll let you know how things play out later on in the day. Reporting live from Athens, I'm Mark Teichner for Good Day Atlanta.
All right, Mark, thanks for the update there. But last check, Ibarra's 29-year-old brother, Diego, was facing a federal prison sentence. He pleaded guilty back in July to owning a fake green card. He could end up with up to 10 years behind bars.
Ma'am. On the opening day of the trial of Jose Ibarra, I need EMS immediately. Prosecutors playing body cam video too graphic to be shown beyond the courtroom of when Laken Riley was found. 8, 9, 10, 11. Sergeant Kenneth Maxwell with the University of Georgia Police Department performing CPR as emergency sirens wailed, observers in the court crying as the responding officer described the scene.
It looked more intentional, as though somebody had attempted to either remove her top or maybe had used it to drag her.
Also entered into evidence images of the crime scene, fingerprints found on Riley's phone, and pictures of injuries on the defendant the prosecutors say came from the attack. Pieces of evidence that prosecutor Sheila Ross told the judge in her opening statement would lead him to a verdict of guilty in the trial of Jose Ibarra, the undocumented migrant charged with murder and aggravated assault with intent to rape college student Laken Riley in February.
He went hunting for females on the University of Georgia's campus.
In her opening, Ross previewed more evidence to come.
She fought for her dignity, and in that fight, she caused this defendant to leave forensic evidence behind,
including fingerprint and DNA analysis.
It is Jose Ibarra's left thumb on Laken Riley's phone.
And evidence collected by police.
We are going to ask that you find him guilty on every count of this indictment, because the state will be able to prove every bit of it.
Ibarra's defense attorney calling that evidence graphic and what happened to Riley tragic.
The evidence that Jose Ibarra killed Laken Riley is circumstantial.
And explained the defendant's waiving of a jury trial, saying if the judge made a, quote, honest assessment of the evidence,
there should not be enough evidence to convince you beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Ibarra is guilty of the crimes charged.
And how long were you able to determine that that device belonging to Jose Ibarra was in the forest?
Yeah, so again, the last Reuben data we saw was 8:55, and then the next one we see isn't until 9:40.
And by 9:40, has that device left the forest?
You'll see in the timing advance where that device
Okay,
is.
all right, so we'll get there then. Page 27.
So again, timing advance arcs here, plus we have Laken Riley's GPS locations here. So the timing advance for this device at 9:03:50 and 9:51, again, put it in this spot here. Again, one thing to remember is there's still no Reuben data, which means when we tested these areas here, there was Wi-Fi everywhere except for the park, which allows us to kind of help pinpoint where the device could have been, and that would be somewhere within this portion here. And then again, we have the Riley GPS locations, and at 9:06, that device is still headed southbound.
Page 28.
So here again, 9:06 to 9:09 a.m. If we look at Riley's locations here, we see now she's moved down here, and at 9:06, she's now entering the woods here, the forest, and then her run trail takes her up and along this trail here at 9:09. What we have on the Ibarra device is again timing advance check-ins at 9:11 or 9:09 11 seconds and 9:09 56, both of which are on this timing advance arc. Again, still no Reuben data during this time period, which allows us to say that device was most likely in the forested area somewhere along this arc.
And is it your expert opinion in looking at both Laken Riley's Garmin Watch data and the timing advance data from Jose Ibarra's phone that their two digital profiles are closing in on one another at this time?
They are.
Okay.
Prosecutors presented evidence that included Ibarra's DNA under Laken's fingernails and Ibarra's fingerprint on Laken's phone screen. Ibarra's defense said that the evidence against him was circumstantial. Maybe so, but the circumstantial circumstances were pretty darned compelling. On November the 20th, 2024, Judge Hargard found him guilty of all charges.
Jose Antonio Ibarra, case SU 24CR0323, count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 3, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 4, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 5, kidnapping with bodily injury. I find the defendant guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault with intent to rape. I find the defendant guilty. Count 7, aggravated battery. I find the defendant guilty. Count 8, obstructing or hindering a 911 call. I find the defendant guilty. Count 9, tampering with evidence. I find the defendant guilty. Count 10, peeping Tom. I find the defendant guilty.
Ahead of sentencing, Laken's parents and friends made emotional victim impact statements, which I'll show excerpts of shortly. But by way of summarizing, Laken's parents' statements will be mentioned here. Laken's mother, Alison Phillips, said, "Jose Ibarra took no pity on my scared panicked and struggling child. She fought for her life in dignity and to save herself from being brutally raped. This sick, twisted and evil coward showed no regard for Laken and human life. We're asking for the same to be done to him. There is no end to the pain, suffering and loss. On that horrific day, my precious daughter was attacked, beaten, and shown no mercy. And she also recalled Laken as a kind and thoughtful child of God that was her best friend. Ibarra listened to her poignant words completely stone-faced. Laken's father, Jason Riley, also spoke, calling the pain that Ibarra causes him every single day unexplainable, with him saying, "I will never hold her hand or feel her hug. Our world has been torn apart. I am haunted by the fear that she felt in those final moments. I hope justice is served for her."
Your Honor, on February 22nd of 2024, our family and friends were given a life sentence without a chance of parole. Jose Ibarra took no pity on my scared, panicked, and struggling child. There is no end to the pain, suffering, and loss that we have experienced or will continue to endure. On that horrific day, my precious daughter was attacked, beaten, and shown no mercy. She fought for her life and dignity and to save herself from being brutally raped. This sick, twisted, and evil coward showed no regard for Laken or human life. We are asking that same be done to him.
I heard in the opening statements from the defense that the loss of a life that was apparently full of promise is tragic. I'm here today to let Your Honor and the entire world know that Laken's life was not apparently full of promise, but instead was abundantly and exceptionally full of promise, and was a shining beacon in the life of everyone that knew her, that ever came in contact with her.
Your Honor, I wish I could truly put into words how much the tragedy that occurred on February 22nd, 2024 has affected me, but I don't think I'll ever be able to do so. With that being said, I'm going to attempt with the best of my ability to do that for you today. My name is Lauren Phillips, and I had the amazing privilege of living with Laken Riley as my older sister. Laken was and will forever be my most favorite person. She was my biggest role model, and I looked up to her in every way. She brought the joy that I needed into my life and never failed to make me laugh. There was absolutely nothing that I wouldn't do for Laken, and nothing that she wouldn't do for me. Laken was my biggest protector, and I always had this sense of comfort and safety in her presence. We have been inseparable ever since the moment I was born, and I've been lost ever since she was senselessly stripped from our lives by Jose Antonio Ibarra.
Your Honor, I stand here today as a grieving father whose heart was shattered in ways I never thought possible. My daughter Laken Riley was not just our child, she was the light of my life, the person who brought joy to every room she entered. And now that light has been extinguished forever, taken from us in the most senseless and violent way imaginable. The pain I feel is unexplainable. Every day I am reminded that my daughter is gone. I will never hear her laugh again, never see her smile, never hold her hand or feel her hug. She was taken from us, from her family, from her friends, from her future. Our world has been torn apart, and no matter what happens here today, nothing will ever bring her back.
Good afternoon. As I stated in my testimony, my name is Connolly Huth. Laken Riley was my roommate for 2 years, my devoted and loyal running partner for 2 years, and my best friend forever. I stand before you looking at you through eyes that have seen, ears that have heard, and a heart that has felt emotions no body, and especially no 22-year-old, should have to. On February 21st, my life was complete. I woke up on February 21st at 7:30 a.m., walked out of my bedroom door to streamers hung outside of my bedroom from the top of the door frame to the floor, balloons blown, decorations taped, and gifts presented precisely on my kitchen island. Laken did it. It was my 22nd birthday. She had a 5 a.m. nursing clinical, yet she woke up at 4:30 a.m. to make me feel loved and appreciated, because that is who Laken Riley was. I went to dinner that night with my roommates and my family, and ended the night with my roommates, and especially Laken, showering me with love. It is clear and evident that this defendant, Jose Ibarra, has never felt this type of love and appreciation. I've been impacted by this brutal, cowardice, and preventable tragedy in every way, shape, and form. I no longer have a best friend that I relay every thought or worry to. I no longer run every day. I lost my partner, and I lost the joy of what running was before Laken was taken from us. I cannot imagine running when I constantly am looking over my shoulder in public, wondering if I am next. I live with excruciating guilt every day that I was not accompanying Laken on this run, and that it was her and not me. And I hope and pray that it will never happen again to anyone.
In a hearing that lasted barely more than 2 hours, the judge answered the grieving parents' pleas, declaring the illegal immigrant guilty on all charges and giving him 2 life sentences plus 27 years, each to be served consecutively. Yes, you heard me, consecutively. Hallelujah.
Mr. Ibarra, if you will please stand. Count 1, malice murder. I sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. Count 2 will be vacated as a matter of operation of law. Count 3, vacated by operation of law. Count 4, vacated by operation of law. Count 5, life in prison consecutive to count 1. Count 6, 20 years to serve consecutive to count 5.
The Laken Riley case drew widespread public interest and international media attention, especially in the United States, but a lot less so here in the UK. A memorial was made for Laken at Lake Herrick. Her family said they plan to establish a foundation in her honour. Her stepfather said she will be missed every day, but we promise to honour her life moving forward in a very big way. Riley's family started an online fund to raise money for the foundation. which is called the Laken Hope Riley Foundation. On March the 7th, 2024, the House of Representatives passed the Laken Riley Act in a 251 to 170 vote, with 37 Democratic members joining all Republican members in voting for the bill. If enacted, the Laken Riley Act would mandate federal detention of illegal immigrants who commit burglary or theft, and would allow states to file suit against the federal government for failing to enforce immigration laws. With the case being so recent, it is hard to say what the aftermath will be and what ripple effects will stem from this vicious and cruel attack on a defenseless student who nonetheless defended herself with strength and honor. She was a warrior who was ultimately overpowered by a selfish cockwomble. She was beautiful, talented, vibrant, and deeply caring and empathetic. In choosing nursing, she was going to make a difference in the lives of so many people. But that dream was extinguished on February the 22nd, 2024. And she leaves a gaping void in the lives of her friends and family, who are still reeling from the sudden loss of a very, very cherished young lady. And I send love and deepest condolences to all of them. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. Please subscribe and whatnot. It would be terribly, terribly good if you could. Please and thank you. With that said, I'm Steve. This orange donut is Samson. And we will see you when we see you.